The Planning Commission meeting of January 17, 2024 will come to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Secretary will call roll.
Commissioner Mayer,
Here.
Commissioner Mann,
Here.
Commissioner Kennedy, Vice Chairperson Rice,
Here.
Chairperson Tolson.
Here. We're going to turn the time over to Mr. Sean. Right?
Yes, good evening, members of the Planning Commission. This is the time and place set for the nomination of election of the Planning Commission Chairperson and Vice Chairperson for 2024. The Simi Valley Municipal Code provides that prior to any vote by the office of Chairperson, the Deputy Director, City Planner must take all nominations for the office of Chairperson. All nominations must receive a second. Anyone receiving a nomination may vote for themselves. The floor is now open for nominations for office of the Chairperson. Feel free to chime in, anyone.
I'll make a nomination. Commissioner, Mann for chair.
I'll second.
Is that Commissioner Mayer?
Mann?
Mann. So we have a nomination for Commissioner Mann. Are there any other nominations?
You have push.
Oh, gosh, there I go. It's been a while. Commissioner Mayer for Vice Chair.
That'll be the
One
second
at a time? All right, here we go. Good enough.
This will be for Chairperson. Anyone for Chairperson? Okay, having received all nominations, the slate for Chairperson includes Commissioner Alan Mann. The Recording Secretary will now poll the Commission on their vote for office of Chairperson.
The vote passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Chairman Mann. We will, let's go for Vice Chair, then we'll change seats. So we'll now open the floor for nominations for office of Vice Chairperson. Do we have any nominations for Vice Chairperson?
Try this again. Commissioner Mayer.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded for the first nomination. Are there any other nominations for Vice Chair? Hearing none, we've received all nominations. Now the Recording Secretary will poll the Commission on their vote for the office of Vice Chairperson.
The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, congratulations. Now, if the new chairperson and vice chair could take their new places, and we will rearrange the name cards.
Now you're all in trouble.
Down.
Maybe get the bat phone next to me. Look at that.
If you want.
can I call on the phone?
There we go. Certain spots.
Everybody settled, everybody comfy and cozy? Oh, turn my microphone on. Okay, everybody settled, comfy and cozy? We'll continue on with the meeting. Do number 4, approval of agenda. May I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second?
Motion is made by Commissioner Rice and seconded by Commissioner Tolson. By consensus, or do we have a vote?
I think we're good.
Okay. Approval of minutes. May I have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Mayor,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Tolson. Hearing no objections, the minutes are approved. Declaration of conflict. The secretary will read the declaration of conflict.
If any member of the Planning Commission may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that member must abstain from consideration of any matter on this agenda, he or she should so declare at this time.
Are there any declarations of conflict? Hearing none, move on to public statements. This is the time allotted for public statements or comments on all items other than the public hearing items. Is there anyone in the chambers wishing to be heard? Not on the agenda item before us. So any other matters? Okay, hearing none. Correspondence? Is there any correspondence from the Deputy Director, City Planner?
Yes, Chairman Mann, we provided one email correspondence to you tonight, which is provided to you here at your desk.
We have nothing on rent mediation tonight, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Nothing on the consent calendar? Nothing on continued business? So, new business. This is the time and place set for public hearing on the consideration of CUP-S-2022-0016 and the determination that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act thereof. Are there any ex parte communications to report?
I have one. I spoke to one of the consultants today on the project before us tonight, and that was Dean Kanicki. I had a phone call from him.
Okay. Any other ex parte communications? Hearing none, may we have an oral report on this matter from staff?
Yes, Chairman Mann, members of the Planning Commission, this is again a conditional use permit to construct an outdoor assembly area amphitheater with amplified sound and related site improvements at the Stonebridge Community Church at 4832 Cochran Street. Our Associate Planner, Alex Klingman, will have the presentation.
Good evening, Commissioners. The applicant, Stonebridge Community Church, requests approval of a modification to a conditional use permit for an outdoor assembly area and amphitheater with amplified sound and related site improvements. The project is located at 4832 Cochran Street and is surrounded by single-family homes to the north, south, and west, and a senior apartment complex to the east. The site currently has a sanctuary, chapel, classrooms, play area, and a residence facing Cochran Street. Parking for the site is located at the front and rear of the property and the outdoor assembly area is proposed on a vacant portion of the site located to the west, shown here on the slide. The proposed outdoor assembly area will consist of a 613 square foot covered stage, a 388 square foot attached storage space, a 117 square foot sound booth structure, and 1,250 square feet of new landscaping. The outdoor seating area will consist of 292 fixed seats and 6 accessible spaces. The project will be set back 138 feet from the front property line facing Cochrane Street, 42 feet from the residence to the west, 207 feet from the senior apartment complex to the east, and 428 feet from the residence to the south. The project will also include a total of 6 loudspeakers and 3 subwoofers located on the stage and throughout the seating area. These systems will not be affixed to the stage. The seating area will also be covered with a 2,880 square foot overlapping shade sail to match the earth tone colors of the existing buildings on site. This image shows the east elevation of the stage with the shade sails outlined. And the images here show the north elevation of the stage structure facing Cochrane Street and the west elevation of the stage facing a residential neighborhood. This portion of the structure will have a 9-foot tall sound barrier screening wall, in addition to an existing 5-foot block wall at the property line. The structure will use the same materials and be painted to match the existing buildings on site. As shown in the table and detailed on pages 6 and 7 of the staff report, the proposed structure meets the setbacks, height requirements, and off-street parking requirements of the development code. No parking is being removed or replaced as part of this project. The proposed assembly area will be used for weekend services, occasional seasonal performances, and temporary events. Since the project involves amplified sound, a noise study was conducted to ensure that the project complies with the Simi Valley General Plan noise standards. Interior residential noise levels should not exceed 45 decibels, and outdoor living environments should not exceed 63 decibels per the general plan. This slide shows examples of average indoor and outdoor noise levels. For example, 45 decibels is equivalent to the typical home noise, while 63 decibels is the same level as a normal conversation or background music. And based on the noise study results, the project would need to include 6 design features to comply with the general plan standards. Those 6 design features are that the loudspeaker and PA system will not exceed 82 decibels at a distance of 3 feet. Drums for outdoor music must either be electronic or in a completely enclosed drum kit. Performers must use in-ear monitors as opposed to stage monitors. A noise limiter on all amplifiers will be provided and will be set so that the system cannot exceed 50 decibels at the property line. Loudspeakers that are placed in the audience are not to be more than 8 feet in height, and a solid 9-foot tall wall is provided to shield adjacent residents to the west from noise. These design features are conditions of project approval. And with the incorporation of these design features, project noise levels will comply with the general plan as shown here. Noise levels within the surrounding homes are shown in dark green and are below the 45 decibel interior threshold. Exterior levels in backyards to the west are below the 63 decibel threshold, as shown in yellow. This image also shows that any noise affecting the senior apartment complex to the east is buffered by several buildings and a 5-foot block wall. There is also an additional 140-foot distance to the homes located south of the project, not shown here. The application for the project was submitted in September of 2022 and deemed complete in October of 2023. An administrative public hearing was held on November 16th shortly after. During the hearing, several neighbors expressed concerns about issues such as the facility currently playing music at 7 a.m., disrupting the senior complex to the east, the proposed amplified sound interfering with the use of the residents' backyards, and whether neighbors would be able to comment on potential events held with a temporary use permit. As a result, the Deputy Environmental Services Director, City Planner, deferred action to the Planning Commission. To address the neighbors' concerns that were brought up at the public hearing, staff has modified the following conditions of approval. Outdoor services are limited to Saturdays from 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. and Sundays from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Any future changes to this schedule must be approved by the city. Indoor church services will not be held concurrently with the use of the proposed outdoor amphitheater area, and the applicant is required to obtain a temporary use permit from the Planning Division before hosting any outdoor, temporary, seasonal events or performances. These events are allowed for a maximum of 6 one-day events per year and are restricted to 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. from Friday to Sunday, with a maximum of 4 hours for amplified music or sound per event. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the modification to the existing conditional use permit to construct an outdoor assembly area and amphitheater with amplified sound and related site improvements. This concludes staff's presentation, and we are available for any questions.
Excuse me. Do any commissioners have any questions to staff at this time?
Yes.
Please, sorry, Commissioner Rice.
Could we go back to the sound map? That one right there. Were there any comments from the homes where we had the highest noise level just to the left there? The ones that are closest to where it says exterior noise level 63 decibels? Were those the homes? Did we have any comments from those specific homes?
We did not receive any comments from those.
Okay, thank you.
Please, Commissioner Mayor.
It says in the comments that current music is disruptive to senior complex to the east. Is that the same time that they're going to be like Saturdays 4:30 to 7:30 and Sundays 8 a.m. to 11 a.m.? Or is there music right now at a different time?
According to the public testimony, it was at 7 a.m. in the morning.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I have a few. A noise limiter on all amplifiers will be provided set so that the system cannot exceed 50 decibels at the property line. Is there something at the property lines that somehow monitors the sound before it crosses property lines? Or what is actually being set at 50 decibels? This was under the noise study, page 4, just as a noise limiter on all amplifiers will be provided.
Based on the design features that were provided as part of the noise study, there should be a sound level monitor at the property line to ensure that it stays at that 50 decibel level.
There should be or there will be?
There will be. It's a project design feature.
And other than additional events that need a temporary use permit, is there any other way they can use that facility without getting a temporary use permit? Or any event outside of the church service being approved would need the temporary use permit, which is limited to 6? Or is that only if they're using amplified music, do they need the temporary use permit?
Yes, I mean, we anticipate, say, if, a choir group or something gets in there and just starts practicing without amplified music, that would not require TUP.
Okay, so the TUP would basically be for amplified music.
Correct.
Okay. That's it for my questions. Anybody else have any others? Okay. Then we will open the public testimony portion of this hearing. Would the applicant like to present the project? Could you please state your names?
If you could fill out a speaker card out also.
Thank you.
Hi, and good evening. I'm Pastor John Sauer, the senior pastor of Stonebridge Community Church. And first off, thank you for hearing us and for entertaining this amendment and this proposal. I'm just going to take you through a little bit about the church, recap a little bit about the project, and try not to take up too much of your time here, but let you know who we are as well. This is our team that is with us tonight for any questions you might have that you need more specificity on. Jason Leedy is our elder, who is the construction committee chair. He can speak to any sort of history with the project. I've only been at Stonebridge for about 3 years now. He's been there much longer than that, and he's been a part of this work for longer than I have. Then we have Robert Matola, our architect, who has done our designs. And Mike Dickerson is our sound consultant, who did the sound study for us. So any other questions you have about the sound study, he's here to address those, which I imagine there are questions about that. But about Stonebridge, Stonebridge Community Church, as it says on our website, is a community of faith made up of ordinary people from all walks of life who are being changed for the better by their relationship with God through Jesus Christ. And we just say no matter who you are, where you've been, or what your background, you're welcome here at our church. Stonebridge has actually been here in Simi Valley for 60 years. It's had different names: Simi Valley Presbyterian Church, Simi Pres, and then Stonebridge Community Church. We have 250 active members currently, and 50 children and youth program children involved in our programs. We are part of the Presbyterian denomination nationally, so we have a larger church structure as well. And the Presbyterian denomination, just so you know, it tends to be a little older in demographic, a little book nerdish. We like talking about ideas, and we tend to be fairly quiet, actually, as Presbyterians. So that's a little bit about Stonebridge. Again, I've been here 3 years now, and I found it to be a wonderful, warm, and welcoming community, and it's been a joy for me and my family to be a part of this congregation. With the project description, we are asking for an amendment to the conditional use permit. There are existing permits for a larger construction project. The congregation actually bought this property about 20 years ago, and for various reasons hasn't been able to develop it in a way that made sense for the congregation moving forward. Something always came in the way. When I arrived about 3 years ago, we sat down and started thinking, what is a creative idea that we could put forward to the church, to the leadership, to help us move forward with this property? And this idea for an outdoor sanctuary started to make more and more sense to us. We saw it as a new way to see church and a new way to do church. Being outdoors is just different than what people are used to, but it can be a beautiful way to worship. We found family-focused space could be developed here. We've worked to design this so that it's connected to a play area, so that parents of young children can come and have their kids right next to them as they're worshiping, and the kids can be playing in the playground while the worship service is going on. They can be watching them, connecting with them. It's another way of helping those young children and the high schoolers and junior hires connect as well to this. And then safety for at-risk congregants. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we were one of the congregations that was a little more cautious in how we met. We met outdoors primarily. And because of that, we ended up getting more people who had concerns about COVID-19, who are at-risk populations, to become part of our congregation. And we figured that this was a way to let them continue to be part of what we are doing. We currently do have normally an outdoor service as well for people who are at risk, so that they don't feel like they have to be isolated from community because a COVID wave happens and they feel like they can't go indoors to their church. So we felt like this was a way to really have all of us together, worshiping together in an environment that, for people with concerns, those concerns could be addressed. So that's a little bit of the vision behind this and why we are pursuing this. I want to just go over again the sound mitigations that we have in place. I mean, sound is the sticking point on this, and I understand the concerns that our neighbors expressed at our last hearing, but I just want to reiterate the mitigations that we have, because I feel like they're extensive and they address any sound concerns. We have the architectural controls with the solid masonry wall, 9 feet tall, 44 feet long. That's part of our design. It's in there. We plan to build that. We will build that with this. We have the site use controls, so regular amplified use of the assembly area is permitted only during the specified times. And then we have the equipment controls that you can see there as well. I won't go through all of those, but you can see them, and you can see we're making a very good faith effort, and we're doing everything the city has asked us to do to keep the sound levels well within the range. And we are well within the noise ordinances of the city. So that's the impact to our neighbors. We feel like we have mitigated it pretty well as the city's asked us to, and we're happy to do that. Our goal here is not to create a bunch of noise for our neighbors so that they dislike us. We want them to come worship with us. We want them to be part of the community. We want them to feel welcome and join us. We're not trying to keep them up late at night. I've got 3 young kids at home. We are done by 9 p.m. the latest anytime. So the whole church has the same attitude. We're not trying to create excess noise and make anyone stay up late at night or anything like that. Again, here's the noise study conclusions. This is the site map, or the sound map here. Some questions have already been asked about that, so you're familiar with it, but I just wanted to remind you that it falls within the parameters that were requested of us. And we spent a significant amount of money from our perspective to make sure we got this right, to make sure that we addressed the concerns, and to make sure we weren't going to be creating excess noise and making our neighbors upset with us. So there's a summary. We're grateful to the members of the Planning Commission for your consideration. Thank you for hearing us out. Thank you for considering this project. Thank you for the time that you put into this. And we're confident that it represents a valuable addition to the community. It gives consideration to our neighbors, and that this is a way that our congregation can move forward with this property after 20 years of it lying there. So thank you very much.
Are there any questions of the applicant? Okay, are there any questions of the applicant? Thank you.
I
Yes.
just have one.
Commissioner Rice.
Reverend, that's okay to call you Reverend, right?
Quite all right. Yeah.
You would be okay with the condition, or excuse me, the temporary use permit as well. I mean, if we approve this project, you'd be okay with the temporary use project or permit for being an additional restriction for any other sort of
Yes,
Events.
we'll be okay with it.
okay.
If
all right.
I mean, obviously, I think everybody would want to have more freedom to use their property how they
Correct.
want, but if this is the condition for us to do this, we accept that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant?
I've got a couple.
Commissioner Tolson?
What time is your current outdoor service, and what day?
It depends, it changes by the season. So during, when it's just standard time, we do it at Sunday at 10:30. And then during daylight savings time, it's Saturday evenings at 5:30. Right now, because I was on family leave, my wife and I had our 3rd child, we postponed it or suspended it. We'll see if we're going to pick it up again in February or March. So we actually haven't been doing the outdoor service for about a month and a half now.
And the service is an hour long?
Yes,
Okay.
I make sure everybody's out of there within an hour.
Okay. Next question is, you've got 2 or 3 neighbors to the west. Have you gone to talk to them at all and said, this is what we're proposing, or?
We haven't talked to the neighbors to the west. We have talked to the neighbors to the south, and we've talked to the neighbors to the east. But we didn't hear any comment from the neighbors to the west. So we took that in the November early hearings. We took that as a sign that if they had concerns, they would have shown up then.
And then other uses for this potential project could be like day camp or, Bible study camp things
Well,
going?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, we could use it as part of our church day camp, which we do annually. But then we've thought about other things as well, of maybe opening up to the whole community and doing something like, a Shakespeare in the Park stage there. maybe partnering with a high school or something, if they have a performance that they wanted to do outdoors in the springtime, we could provide a venue for that. So those are the kinds of ideas. We wanted to let the community come in within reason and use this as well and create a space for people who, at different times just don't feel comfortable going indoors for whatever reason.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have any questions of the applicant? Is there anyone in the chamber wishing to be heard on this matter? Oh, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Do we call off those that don't wish to speak? Okay. So Sally Thompson is in support, does not wish to speak. If I call your name and you decide you want to speak, just come on up to the podium. Christina Coe is in support, does not wish to speak. Grace Hughes is in support, does not wish to speak. Jeffrey Curtis is in support, does not wish to speak. Maureen Knight does not wish to speak and did not check the box. I'm assuming in support? Okay, okay. Tim Whitmore does not wish to speak, is in support. Jason Letty does not wish to speak, is in support. Derek Castellano, and if I butcher your name, my apologies, does not wish to speak, is in support. Kristen Castellano is in support, does not wish to speak. Paul Zaragoza is in support, does not wish to speak. Deborah Irish is in, does not wish to speak, did not check the box, in support.
I'm still on the border because they know why I'm the property manager next door at the senior building because I still have a lot of tenants not for it.
Okay,
The backbone for everything, so I gotta be on the border.
and these cards did not say if they wish to speak or not. Kevin Coe is in support. Do you wish to speak? Thank you. In support. Okay. Jonathan Luche? In support. In support. Wish to speak or no? Okay. Virginia LaRusso, in opposition. Does Virginia wish to speak or not speak? Virginia here. Do you wish to speak?
If I could speak here, I can hear them now when they're in your church.
We would prefer the podium if at all possible because it is being videotaped and they can't catch you or your sound back there. Can we get you up to the podium? Let her speak there. It's up to you. And the mic won't, but we will, so. Oh, yeah. Okay. You know what? We'll let you go ahead and speak from where you are. Yes.
My apartment is right by the church. I can hear them at least, I think it's around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, drumming away in the church somewhere. I don't know if they're practicing or what. So if this is amplified eventually, I'm right there. I'm going to hear it. It's going to wake me up really early in the morning, just like it does now. I don't think it's fair. I mean, God can hear us even if we think. Why do we have to make it louder?
I appreciate your comments. So for a quick recap, for those that may not have heard, Virginia LaRusso is in opposition. And obviously, it's a noise issue primarily because you can currently hear them where they are now. That'll lead me to a question that I have. Helen Violet? In opposition, would you like to speak? Okay, please. Coming up to the podium, yes.
Like some of my neighbors, I'm concerned about the noise or the music, the traffic. I wanted to know if the neighbors, I find it odd that the church is surrounded by the apartment building and the rest is residential. And when you come into the church parking lot off to the right, it's all residential. And I find it odd that these people, which this is really going to affect them because the amphitheater is here and they're right here, that they're not present. So I found that odd. I wondered, had they received the card stating there was going to be a planning department meeting on the amphitheater concerning the church? Did they receive notification?
I'm assuming they did, as required.
I mean, this is right in their backyards.
Which ones are you talking about? I'm sorry. Which neighbors?
To the west
To the west.
and the south.
I'm assuming that they're within the radius that they would have received notification?
300-foot radius notification that went out.
So probably to the south would have got it, because I think they're more than 300.
The south would have got it. It goes
The north is across Cochran Street. Again, their backyards are facing the church.
Yeah, we had a visual that showed what the distances were. Kind of curious as to that one. Yeah, because 300 feet, you don't hit the residential to the south. You will hit it to the west and certainly to the north and to the east.
Yeah, the 300 feet goes to the property line of the facility,
property
not the actual amphitheater location.
So the south would have got it.
So notices are given out, property owners within 300 feet. It's also, the site is also posted with a sign, and it's also published in a newspaper.
So the answer is yes, notices would have been sent out.
Okay, but for people that drive into their houses and maybe don't go past the church, they're not going to see, maybe they didn't see the sign. I just found it odd. I wasn't at the other meeting, so I don't know how many people from the neighborhood showed up on those particular neighbors. The question I also want to ask is, it's a 200-seat amphitheater. What is the present congregation count as it stands right now? How many people attend the church?
250 members. I think it said 250 earlier.
Really? Okay. Because I live in the apartment building next door, and I hear everything. So the noise, the sounds, I hate to say noise, but the sounds do come up and you do hear it. Now, this is inside of a building, so outside, I don't know what this is going to be like. When a 9-foot wall is presented, 9 feet doesn't mean a whole lot when you're on the 3rd floor, so, or the 5-foot wall. So that was one of my questions. The other thing, and lastly, is this amphitheater going to be used? I was trying to make sure I was understanding it correctly, that it will be used only 6 times a year?
It will be used on Saturday and Sunday and up to 6 other times during the year for temporary use permits.
Okay, because the pastor mentioned teaming up with Shakespeare for the Day or the high schools, or I'm wondering, is this going to develop into outdoor concerts? And is it going to be more than 6 times a year? Is it going to be all summer long?
Well, again, my understanding is that they're using amplified music 6 times a year.
Only?
Only. If it's not amplified music, then there's no limitation. Correct. Yeah, the regular service on Saturday and Sunday, they can use their for 52 times a year, Saturday and
So
Sunday.
other than Saturday and Sunday and the 6
Other times,
other times,
no other amplified music at all.
but unamplified music?
Unlimited.
Okay, so that includes string quartets, you name it, but it can't be amplified.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I have no other cards. Is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to speak? You can submit a card. Hearing none, then are there any comments from staff regarding statements made during the public hearing?
Yes, Chairman Mann, can staff reiterate the proposed hours of operation on those dates again, just for the record? I believe that was Saturday and Sundays.
For outdoor services, those would be limited to Saturdays and Sundays. Saturdays from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m., Sundays from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., and those hours do include time for tear down and setup as well. Temporary use hours would be limited to 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Friday to Sunday. Those types of events cannot exceed 6 events per year, and any amplified sound associated with those events would be limited to 4 hours per event.
Right, so to clarify that, the proposed project tonight, the suggestion is 6 temporary events beyond the weekly services. So that's a proposed quantity of 6. That could go up or down depending on the commission's wishes. And the part of the deviation, the discussion is, can you use the amphitheater for non-amplified music, non-amplified activities? And the way it's proposed right now, the answer would be yes, but if the commission would like to be more strict as far as unamplified activities, typically most facilities have playgrounds and other outdoor stuff which aren't regulated. The noise study kicks in when you have amplified activities. So, if you want to get the nuance between unamplified quartets, you may want to discuss that if you chose.
Okay. Any other comments from staff? Okay. Would the applicant like to respond to any of the comments regarding statements made during the public hearing? Please.
Pastor John from Stonebridge Community Church. Two things I wanted to address. One, there was a comment made at the last hearing about us playing our drums at 7 a.m. I did check with our worship director. I checked with our worship elder. The drums are not played at 7 a.m. The musicians arrive at 7:45. They do a brief sound check, and then around 8 o'clock, they get ready for our 9 o'clock service. So that's the timeline on that. The other thing I would say as well, we've talked with our neighbors to the east a few times actually. And we've done what we can to address the concerns there. But I also think we don't have to imagine what the sound would be because we did the sound study. We know what the sound impact will be for our neighbors to the east, and we have our sound consultant, Mike Dickerson, here if you have specific questions or concerns about that. The sound will not be affecting our neighbors to the east for a variety of reasons with all the mitigations in place, plus the 2 buildings that are already there. We've worked hard to make sure that it won't be affecting them at all and address that. So like I said, our consultant is here, so you don't have to take my word for it. He can speak to it better than I can if the commissioners are interested in hearing from him if they're still concerned about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other further questions? Okay, if there's no further questions, we will close the public testimony portion of the hearing. Are there any comments or questions from members of the Planning Commission? Commissioner Mayer?
I would, I would like you guys, commissioners, to consider putting additional restrictions or additional condition of them doing another study once the project is done and being in use in real time, in let's say 6 months in, during one of the events, so the neighbors and we can actually follow up on what's actually going on and how the actual noise is being transmitted to the communities around.
Okay.
I've got a question.
Please.
In terms of if it's an 8 o'clock, one of the use times is 8 o'clock, is that when they can start setting up, or can they come before that and set up before 8 o'clock, or is 8 o'clock the start time to set up, rehearse, whatever it is, prior to a service?
The 8 o'clock start time would be when they can start setting up.
Thank you.
So, my question, so they have 4:30, 7:30, then 8 to 11, and the timeframes include a 1-hour buffer between the buffer period for cleanup and takedown. So the 1-hour buffer on both ways between 8 and 11, so the services really are 9 to 10 on Sunday? Okay.
That's correct.
And are they allowed during that 8 o'clock time to play amplified music?
They would be able to, yes.
Okay. Assuming that if this gets approved and there's noise issues that the neighbors are thinking are exceeding the 50 decibels, their rights of recourse is complaint against the city, police department, just plain devil's advocate. What happens if in fact there's too much noise? What's their rights of recourse?
I can step in and help answer that question for staff. The right of recourse effort, I mean, this is a modification to the CUP, so it would be either revocation of the CUP permit proceeding down that road, or it would be a kind of a nuisance abatement proceedings against the church.
So there is, if they exceed the noise, there is recourse.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, that kind of dovetails into Mayor's suggestion that we do a sound study once the project is up and going. Yes, yes, exactly. I didn't mean we, that we have.
Sorry, I just wanted to be
We asked that it
clear.
be done. I think that might alleviate some of those concerns as well.
Okay. I have a question. Was there a sound study done just on the church as it is normally, or the sound studies were only with the amplified music? Does staff know if there was a sound study done just on how the church is operating now?
Chairman Mann, it might be beneficial to maybe reopen the public hearing and ask the noise engineer maybe the process on how the sound studies were taken, if he'd be willing to speak to that.
That's actually what I was going to say.
Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and open up the public testimony again. Sir, if you could answer my question. Was the sound study done prior to with just the existing church service now?
Before we ever started being able to do a model and plan, we actually went out and took noise measurements at the site during services, during the week, during all kinds of times. So I have a 24-hour noise study that shows the noise from the church, shows the noise from the road, shows the noise from all activities going on, with a whole map of every aspect of the noise that's going in the neighborhood. The 63 dB that the city has as a standard for in the general plan, they are well below that with the amplified music and without the amplified music. So they're within the legal limits of what the city is requiring. And if they wanted to have a barbecue and make noise and play around, they would not be in excess of that noise at the present time. In fact, the city noise limits on the road noise was higher on what's called an LEQ, or hourly average, than the noise that happens from the events that they've planned. So I did two aspects of this. I did one, the actual really noise that was going on with everything happening, and then I did a model that I was able to calibrate that showed what the noise would be with the controls and the things in place. They're actually 11 or 12 dB, which is twice as lower than the required city limits for the noise levels. And so I'm amazed that we're even talking about noise in that you can hear people talking in everybody's backyard. If I had a barbecue in my backyard, no one from the city comes and says, oh, no, you can't have 25 people in your backyard having a barbecue. So I'm a little bit surprised that people are complaining about a 50 or 47 dB noise when the limit is 63, which is way more. So if you have other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
In your report, page 7 for me, you have table 3, scenario 1, worst case predicted operational LEQ noise level. You have receptors 1 through 7.
Right.
Receptors, I'm assuming, are microphones in some way, shape, or form that you're.
Yes, those are actual locations. We took locations we put pinpointed locations where the noise would be at those points. And so on the map, we show those locations of where we would put, where we'd find out what the noise level would be at those locations. And we measured those with microphones.
Okay. I don't have any questions.
Kind of brings a question to my mind, if you were able to locate those microphones in those particular areas, the residents would have knowledge of.
Of course, yeah.
So-
They when we went out to residents, we asked permission to get on their property to take the measurements.
And that answered a question earlier from one of our respondents asking if those neighbors were adequately informed. If they had microphones placed in their backyard for sound studies for this, I think they may have been adequately informed.
Either that or these guys are really quiet. Like the microphones. Okay. Any other questions? Then thank you very much for your time. I'm going to, again, close the public hearing. Thank you very much. And, back to my agenda. Now, the public hearing is closed. Are there any other comments or questions from a member of the Planning Commission? Okay,
Sure.
sorry, Commissioner Rice?
It's okay. Are we good? Is there any other discussion on anything, or can we move on?
Do you have a question, or you want to get to the?
I'm ready to get into the,
I've got a couple.
unless you have a concern.
Just, I think all the things that they've been required to do to make sure that the problems with sound has been addressed. I think the time set is appropriate. I like Commissioner Mayer's amendment to do a sound study and to verify so that the neighbors feel comfortable about what the sound's going to be. My opinion would be maybe to increase the number of events from 6 to maybe even 8 for the year. 6 seems kind of limited versus the exposure that they're doing financially, but that's just my opinion.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments, discussion?
I don't think they need to do another sound study. I agree with the sound engineer that that's kind of pointless to do this again in 6 months. The decibel rate, I mean, we've gone through this before. In the 13 years I've been on the council, we've gone through sound study, and I've had enough of this that the sound level he's talking about is, as he said, is at a backyard barbecue. And I understand what she's saying, and she's probably getting echo and things like that from the church, and I understand what she's saying. But this is on the other side of the property too. And those buildings are in the way, and this will add more landscaping. And so, and with the sound wall, I think that this is actually going to be quite a bit better for her. And, we're talking a later time frame as well. So I think this is better. So I don't see it as necessary. If that's what you want, it is what it is. But I don't see that that's necessary. As far as the extra events, I don't think at the moment we need it, but if that's what everybody else wants, then I'm okay with that, so.
I'm fine with the extra events.
8 versus 6?
Yeah. It doesn't matter to me. I'm fine with either 6 or with 8. You want to go to 8? I'd be fine with 8.
I would still advocate for another study, just because this study has been done right now when they don't have events of that kind. I mean, I
I mean,
understand
you-
you
you-
I understand you disagree.
You know, I
You've been
know,
here
but
longer.
I know, but it's just you're dealing with, yeah, I know.
I think it falls under an abundance of caution. You've got the studies now, get it in a real-world condition, kind of settles it.
Okay,
Another way to do it would be to just request that the applicant do this as a good faith as a neighbor without making it a condition of the approval.
You can always ask the applicant.
Right, that's my point.
I would also just jump in here to note that if it is a condition of approval, we would have to check with the applicant as well. So, yeah, that they're willing to accept it as a condition.
okay. Any other comments? Questions, remarks? Okay, so if we approve 6 or 8 TUPs, temporary use permits, can the applicant at a later date come back to the city and ask for additional ones, or does it have to come back to us, or is that something in the city's purview to increase that number?
It could be approved by either staff or the commission.
Okay, so if they want to come back for more than 6 or 8 or whatever the number is, they can.
It would require an application, however, so there would be a fee.
And that fee is roughly?
3,000 to 5,000.
Oh, snap. Okay.
8 it is.
Yeah. Thinking for $3,000 to $5,000, we can go to 10. That's just a huge number for a church. There's so many other good things they can do with that money. Would the applicant be willing to voluntarily do a sound study at the 6-month level? I have no idea how much a sound study costs or anything else along those lines. By all means, please.
Yep, my name's Jason Leedy. I've been in charge of the project as a layperson.
1 second, just point of order. I'm so sorry. You have to open the public testimony portion again.
Ask for the applicant to accept the condition or
Okay, go ahead and open
voluntarily.
it back up.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and open up public hearing again. Thank you very much. I'm new here. Please, go ahead, continue.
First night jitters, I think we can accept. So let me clarify the intention of this, doing the sound study now when no infrastructure in place is to simulate the sound that will be present in the future with the proposed construction and audio equipment. So what we're proposing is to monitor the sound when the actual construction and installation of the audio equipment is complete to ensure that the levels that are produced by the equipment meet the standards that we commit to in the planning approval. If that's what's being asked, it's a little bit different, I think, Mike, than what your work is. It's much easier, in fact, because all we have to do is have Mike go out there and hold up his microphone and get a reading. And if that's what's being asked, I think we can certainly commit to that.
Okay,
If I clarify, I guess that would be monitoring during an actual event.
okay. Yes,
We would agree to that, yes.
okay. Hang on, the young lady in the back has.
I would venture out for him to come over to our property and do that sound study over at our property.
I think they had a microphone on the wall of the property, correct?
No, they did not.
A receptor?
No, they did not.
Okay.
Mike, if I since I have the.
We're back in a public hearing, so we can go ahead and.
May I clarify, Mike, is that location number 3 that's at the northwest, or excuse me, northeast?
on the property line.
That's on the property line.
Okay,
Chairperson, can you have him come to the microphone, please?
please, thank you.
The item that says 47, the number 3, is on the property line. That was on the wall. That was at the top of the wall. That was on the top of the wall. I have pictures.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and close the public hearing again, and we're going back to comments from commissioners and discussion from commissioners. If anybody has any more comments,
Well, need a clarification on, is this a requirement, or are we just going to accept their sound study without making it part of the conditional approval?
I believe they said that they would be willing to do it voluntarily,
Thank you.
okay? And if you can't trust the church, I'm not sure who you can trust. So we'll give you some credence there, Pastor.
I just want a point of clarification.
Understood. Okay.
And I think we should all be in consensus that it's 8 events versus 6.
I accept that.
Yeah, I would accept 8. Okay?
If that's the motion, the condition number,
A14 would go from 6 one-day events to 8.
yep, there it is, A14.
Okay? Actually read these things nowadays. Okay, so if I have no other comments, then may I have a reading of the resolution, please?
Resolution number SVPC 01-2024. A resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Simi Valley approving a modification to a conditional use permit, CUP-S-2022-0016, to construct an outdoor assembly area amphitheater with amplified sound and related site improvements located at 4832 Cochrane Street, and a determination that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
The chair will now entertain a motion.
I move to adopt a resolution approving CUP-S-2022-0016 and a determination that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act,
As amended.
as amended.
I have a motion from Commissioner Tolson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second from Commissioner Mayor. Call for the vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
The appeal period for the conditional use permit is 14 calendar days. That's it for this one. Okay. Moving on in the agenda. Let me find that on my notes. There are no other new business. There are no public hearings. There's no other oral communications and reports.
Chairman Mann, staff has no additional items tonight.
Do any commissioners have anything to report?
Yes. I want to say happy belated birthday to John Tolson.
You said you want to sing happy birthday? No, just, yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I wish to remind you, she is an afternoon Rotarian, and we are infamous for our singing of our birthday song. So
And just so you know, the morning club does not sing.
we don't sing very well either. Okay, any other commissioners anything to report? Mobile Home Rent Mediation Board,
No items for this meeting.
Tree Advisory Board.
No items tonight.
This concludes the meeting of Wednesday, January 17th of the Planning Commission. The next scheduled meeting will be February 7th. February 7th. This meeting is adjourned.